All right, Math 12A. By popular demand, I'm going to do number 42, specifically the perpendicular distance. Most people told me they could find the vertical and the horizontal distance. What they were having a hard time with was that shortest distance. I will probably throw in the vertical and horizontal distance because it's quick and it's easy and I can. So, number 42, these are the two equations that you're given. So the first thing I would do is I would make this negative 3x plus 5, and I would make this one, negative 3x plus 11. So if I was graphing them, this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, the y-intercept is 0 and 11, and the slope is down 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1. So this would be the line. And for the other one, the y-intercept would be at 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the slope still down 3 and over 1, so it would look like this. All right, so for vertical distance, I would just find the distance between the two y-intercepts. So the distance from 5 to 11 is just 6 squares, right? To go from 5 to 11 is just 6 squares. Horizontal distance, I would look at x-intercepts. So I would look from here to here, but that means I got to figure out those points. To figure out x-intercepts with the purple, I would make the y 0 and do negative 3x plus 11. So negative 11 is equal to negative 3x. So x is equal to 11 over 3. If you prefer, that's like 3.66666. And for the blue one, I would do 0 is equal to negative 3x minus 5. So, plus 5, and so negative 5 is negative 3x. So divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3, and I have x is 5 over 3. Or again, if you prefer, that would be 1.66666. So how far is it? So again, let's just look. This is like 1.6 repeating, and this is 3.6 repeating. So how far is it? Well, that's a distance of 2. And again, if you graph this on graph paper really accurately, you could just count that it's 2 squares. You wouldn't even need to do the math because you could count on your graph paper, but I'm not doing it on graph paper. So my horizontal distance is 2. So now I need to find the perpendicular or the shortest distance. And that's the thing that when people were emailing me, messaging me, talking to me, that's the one that they had a problem with. So that's the one I'm going to focus my time on. So those are your two equations. Now here's what you need to do. You need to pick one of the y-intercepts, and it doesn't matter which one. For no reason at all, I'm going to pick this one. This is the first one I saw. And I'm going to draw my line from here to here. As soon as I pick my y-intercept, I know that I'm not going to use that equation at all in any of my calculations. If that's the y-intercept I chose, I won't be using the equation for this line in anything. I will be using the purple one because I drew this line to the purple line. So I'm going to be using the purple line in my work. So I know this answer has to be less than 2 because this is going to be the shortest distance. So I already know that my answer should be smaller than 2. I know that this is perpendicular to the purple line. So what I need to do is I need to figure out an equation for that little blue line right there. So this would be an x1 and a y1, that point that I chose to start at, 0 and 5. So y minus y1, so y minus 5, is equal to slope. Now what's my slope? Well, my slope is perpendicular to this line. So this is negative 3 over 1, so it's going to be positive 1 over 3, and then x minus x1, so x minus 0. So I have y minus 5 is 1/3 x, so I'm going to move the 5 over here, and I have y is equal to 1/3 x plus 5. So if y is equal to this, and y is also equal to this, they're both equal. So I can say that 1/3 x plus 5 equals negative 3x plus 11. Then I can find Harriet, there she is. And then I'm going to rearrange this. I'm going to move this over here, so that's going to be 3 and 1/3. So that's going to be 10 over 3 x. And I'm going to move this over here, so that's 11 take away 5, which is 6. So now I would multiply this side by 3, so my 3's cancel, so I multiply this side by 3. So I have 10x is 18, so I have x is 1.8. Now I need a y value. And again, it doesn't matter, I can put it into here, I can put it into here, I'm going to put it into here so that I don't have fractions. Negative 3 times 1.8 plus 11 is 5.6. So now I have an x2 and a y2. So now to find the length of that line, I'm going to do the length of my line formula. I'm going to do that length is the square root of x2 minus x1, so 1.8 minus 0 squared, plus y2 minus y1 squared, so y2 is 5.6, minus 5 squared. And so now this is a matter of calculator work, so it's going to be 1.8 squared plus 5.6 minus 5 would be 0.6, so plus 0.6 squared, and then I'm going to have to take the square root of that, and I get, did they say to round it off to the nearest hundredth? So I get 1.90 because it's 1.897. So that's 1.90. Remember I said it had to be less than 2, and it is. So that's how I would go about doing that one. If you struggled with that one, you are not alone. I got a few messages about that one. All right, we're moving on to the very last section that we're going to do before a test. And I can't answer that right now. And neither can my husband because he's on the, oh wait, he did. All right. So, section 8.4 is called the equation of a circle. So, the reason why they're doing this now is because in the section after this, they're actually going to take a circle and they're going to put a line through it. So they're going to take all the stuff you've learned about lines and the stuff you've learned about circles and kind of put it together. So the reason why I wait and do that on a separate test is I want to see that you can do the two things separately first before we put it together. All right. Equation of a circle, actually, most people find this section easier than the last one. So if you went through the last one going, this is hard, this is actually, for most people, a little bit easier. So just like when we have a line, there's an equation, there's a form. We put it in y is equal to mx plus b, right? There's a form. When we have a parabola, it's y is equal to like x squared plus 7 or something. but there's always an x squared in it if there's a parabola. There's a general form for it. For a circle, there's a general form that the equation will take, and you will know it is a circle, and there's information that you can get from the equation about the circle. So, I don't like how they present it in the textbook, so I'm going to do it my way. So I'm going to give you the equation first. They actually give you the equation after, which makes no sense to me. So equation of a circle and the reason why they give the equation after example 1 is because they're trying to show you why the equation is what it is. I tell people in physics this all the time. I can do it. I can explain to you why the equation is what it is, but I find that most people get very confused by that. When why it is what it is doesn't really matter so much as can you use it. So the reason why this equation is what it is because it is in a way a manipulation of Pythagoras' theorem. And you can look at that in example 1 and they show you why. But you can just trust me, I wouldn't lie. All right, so the equation of a circle always takes this form. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. The h and the k represent the center of the circle. So if this was x minus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared, then the center of the circle would be 2 and 3, not negative 2 and 3, because you don't look at the negative. It's just whatever the h is and whatever the k is. The way I think of it is this. Whatever sign is there, switch it. Because if it has x plus 2 squared, the only way, since the general form is x minus, the only way that it could be x plus 2 squared is if it was really x minus negative 2 squared. So, long story short, too late, long story short, if this is x minus 2, then your h is 2. If this is x plus 2, then your h is negative 2. The way I think of it is, when I take it out of the brackets, change the sign. All right? So, in example number 1, they say determine the equation that has a center of 1 and 2. Oh, and I forgot this. It equals r squared. R, so the square root of whatever's there. R is the radius of the circle. Now it's always equal to r squared. So if 9 was there, your radius would be 3. Okay? Don't forget to take the square root when we talk about that. So in example 1, it says determine the equation of the circle that has a center of 1 and 2 and a radius of 3. So if you're going to come up with an equation, this is my h, this is my k, and this is my r. It really is just a matter of putting the numbers in the appropriate spots. So if the form is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared, well, my h is 1, so x minus 1 squared. My k is 2, so y minus 2 squared is equal to whatever r is squared. Well, r is 3, so 3 squared is 9. And voila, you're done. Now, if they wanted you to graph that circle, your center is at 1 and 2. That's the center of your circle. And your radius is 3, which means horizontally I'd go up 3, 1, 2, 3. Vertically I'd go up 3, 1, 2, 3. I'd go down 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'd just kind of badly connect the dots. All right. But that's how you would do it. Okay? So that's example 1 already done. And there's only 2 more examples, and they are very similar. So example number 2A says the center is 0 and 0, and the radius is 10. So again, if the form is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, this is my h, this is my k, this is my r. So this would be x minus nothing squared. It would be x minus 0. So you don't really need to put it. You can just put x squared. And this would be y minus nothing. So you really don't need to put it. You can just put y squared is equal to r, which is 10 squared. So that's 100. That's all you have to do. It doesn't get any harder than that. So in part B, this time, they tell you your center is 5 and negative 1. And they tell you your radius is 2. So it's going to be x minus 5 squared plus y minus negative 1. If I have a minus a negative, that's actually going to be plus 1 squared is equal to r, which is 2 squared, which is 4. That's all you have to do. Are you all going yay? You should be. Example 3, and this is the last one. This is the last one. Okay. This one takes a little bit more explanation, but it's still not bad. But pay attention to it because this is the one that people screw up and it doesn't need to be hard. Okay, so it says determine the equation of a circle that has a center of negative 1 and 2. So I already know that is my h and my k. Again, if I was drawing it, whoops, that's not right. If I was drawing it, my center would be at negative 1 and 2. That would be my center. Now here's where it gets a little different. And they say the circle passes through the point of 3 and 1. What they really mean is if that's the center, one of the points along the edge of the circle is 1, 2, 3, and 1. So if that's the center and that's one of the points, if that's a point on the edge of a circle, that's actually an x and a y. So if I want to come up with an equation of the circle, just a general equation, I know I'm going to do x minus negative 1. So if I do x minus a negative, that's x plus 1 squared. Plus y minus k, so y minus 2 squared. Now here's where I run into a problem. I don't have a radius. That is why they give you this information, that this is an x and a y. So down here, somewhere else, I'm going to do, if this is h and this is k, and this is x and this is y, and the formula is this, my x is 3, my h is negative 1, so 3 minus negative 1 means 3 plus 1 squared, plus my y is 1, minus my k, which is 2 squared, and that all equals r squared. So 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 squared is 16, and 1 take away 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1, so plus 1 is equal to r squared. So r squared is 17. So remember, I don't even need to take the square root of it because r squared, it is equal to r squared. I just need to put 17 there. That's it. This is the hardest question you're going to encounter in this section. So you might need to watch this part of the video a couple of times just to get it straight. But really, you have your h and your k, so you put them in there. They give you a point, which is an x and a y, which you use to figure out your r squared, and you just stick it into the appropriate place. Done. All right, I'm going to give you a few of those to try. On Friday, which would be tomorrow, I will do a quick review and go over any questions that you have. If you have any even general questions, let me know. I'll try and answer them. Monday is going to be a study day. Kind of works out well that we moved it to Tuesday. So Monday will be a study day. There won't be any work that you have to do, but if you had questions or something, I could either answer them via a video, or if enough of you had a ton of questions, we could do a Zoom meeting, whatever works. Yeah, you'll do your test on Tuesday. So we moved it to Tuesday, which actually worked out well because I probably would have ended up moving it to Tuesday. So that's good. All right. So that's it. I'll see you again soon. Bye.